Regular council meeting for Tiffin City Council, September 7th, 2021, to order. This evening will be led in the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilman Perry.
Please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Perry. I will now ask Clerk Council Ann Forrest to please call roll of council.
Councilman Perry.
Here.
Councilwoman Boyle.
Here.
Councilman Gillig.
Here.
Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Here.
Councilman Jones.
Present.
Councilman Leopard.
Here.
Councilman Perkins.
Here. Let the record show that all 7 members of council were present. Do we have any petitions?
There are no petitions, Mr. President.
Thank you. Hopefully, everybody had an opportunity to go over the minutes at our last regular meeting and committee of the whole meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, the meetings will stand approved as presented without objection. We're now under committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilman Gillig.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Law and Community Planning, Councilwoman Boyle.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Materials and Equipment, Councilman Jones.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Personnel and Labor Relations, Councilman Perry.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Recreation and Public Property, Councilman Perkins.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Street Sidewalks and Sewers Committee, Councilman Leopard.
No report, Mr. President, but I would like to announce a Street Sidewalk and Sewer Committee meeting to be held on Monday, September 20th at 6:30 p.m. here in the council meeting room. The purpose of the meeting is a request for legislation 21-20, easements at Eagle Rock Industrial Park, and any other business that may be presented.
Thank you. Economic Development, Downtown Planning, Councilwoman Yanatuno.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone see a need for a committee of the whole meeting? Thank you. We're now into reports of the officers. His Honor, Mayor Aaron D. Montz.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off this evening, we have a proclamation for the month of September. And it states, whereas cancer is the #1 death by disease of children in the United States, and less than 4% of the U.S. government's total funding for cancer research is dedicated to childhood cancer. And whereas 3 out of 5 pediatric cancer survivors suffer late effects of treatment, including diabetes, secondary concerns, organ failure, learning disabilities, relapse, and secondary cancers. And whereas 1 in every 285 children will be diagnosed with cancer by the age of 20. And whereas every day 46 children are diagnosed with cancer, every 7 days a child will die from cancer. And whereas childhood cancer occurs regularly, randomly, and spares no ethnic group, socioeconomic class, or geographical region. And whereas our goal is to get the world to go gold for the whole month of September for all of the children battling, overcoming, and those angels who have passed from cancer. The children are our future. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Aaron D. Montz, declare the month of September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Tiffin. This was done under my hand the 7th day of September in the year of our Lord 2021. Kind of sobering. Our proclamations are usually a little more to bring attention to happier things. But when you realize that 1 in every 285 children, that really struck me. It seems like a very high number, but yet only 4% of U.S. government dollars dedicated towards cancer research goes towards childhood cancers. So very disproportionate there. But Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, parents obviously should look for signs and symptoms of that early in their children and get them the treatment that they need if and when that does occur. A quick financial update. We finished out last month ahead of the previous year by 1.4%, which was very good. This month, we are off to a bit of a rough start, but you never quite know in the first opening few days of a month. For the year, we are $707,000 ahead of where we were last year at this time, which is 10.3%. One thing I will caution, last year in the final quarter of 2020, we did have the highest fourth quarter collections that we've ever received. So we could certainly be up against quite an uphill battle these last few months of the year. So that $707,000 figure may shrink a bit as the 10.3% would as well. But overall, we've had a very solid financial year, at least through the end of August here in the city of Tiffin. You do have legislation in your, or a request, legislation in your packets tonight as we discussed during Committee of the Whole for a gasoline sharing program with the Sheriff's Office. I'm not going to get into that now since we already discussed it during Committee of the Whole. We had some very good announcements over the last few weeks. If you recall, when SCAT was in here a couple of months ago, they discussed the new busing system in Tiffin that would be a flex route that would not be a call-ahead service, but actually a regular standard route running in the community. Well, they have launched the first such route, which begins on September the 13th. It is called the Shelton Shuttle after the long-term chair of the SCAT board, Dave Shelton. And so September 13th is the date. They are looking for more bus drivers because they've only been able to do actually one of those routes to begin with. But they do want to expand and add the other routes that they discussed with all of us, as well as potential future routes if it continues to grow and do very well. I know there was a great outpouring of support on at least on social media when this was announced. People seem very happy and thrilled about it. I think it's great because it's going to help people get to and from work. It may help those who may not have the luxury of scheduling SCAT services 48 hours in advance. College students could certainly be benefited, or even those who just don't want to have to always get in the car and cruise across town and find a parking place and other items. This could be a very good service for a lot of people in the Tiffin community, and I hope it is utilized. And the fare is only $1 a person, so it's bare minimum trip cost, whereas SCAT a lot of times is actually $2 for their call-ahead service. So I am very hopeful, as well as Mary Habig and others who are involved with this, that it's going to really take off and be successful in the community. Also announced was the first ever Seneca County geocache trail, which geocaching is quite popular among really people of all ages. I have never done geocaching, but it was explained to me by the folks at the chamber that apparently there are different things hidden, and many of them are already hidden all over in places of the community. There's apparently a couple of them that's been in existence at Shekelhoff Park already for a long time. They could be items that are just hung from a tree or hidden in the brush line or something, and folks find these different clues and actually go out and locate it, and a lot of them will have something where you can open up and put your name and signature on it that you found it, and they're very popular in not only Ohio but across the nation. So the first ever geocache trail is being launched September the 13th at an event at Jams Market, which is across from Calvert High School. But we're excited because there's a lot of Tiffin locations on there. It's going to bring people from probably all over at least Northwest Ohio, if not even the region, that will come here to participate in the Seneca County Geocache Trail. And they're planning this to just be phase one. If it goes over well, as they suspect, they're going to add some additional geocaches throughout Tiffin and Seneca County. I want to congratulate Rose & Company Mercantile. Kate Haid announced that opening. September 10th is their first day that they will be in business. It's located just a few doors down from the Empire, same side of the street. The pictures that I've seen look tremendous. All sorts of fall decor in there, home goods, different things to really just spruce up your home, what you would expect to find in some sort of a mercantile business like this. So it's going to be really neat, a fantastic addition to downtown Tiffin, and drive continued foot traffic into the community. And then a quick follow-up. We all know AJ's Pizza celebrated their 40th anniversary of business here in the community. It was quite the hit. John Hill told us that for the first time ever, he had to close early because he ran out of ingredients. It was his biggest sale day ever, and it was on a Monday, no less. Ran out of ingredients, literally ran out of cheese. There aren't many times pizza places have run out of cheese, and he even had stocked up, expecting that he had way more than he had ever utilized. He had to close a couple hours early because that is the support the community gave them for their 40th anniversary. And then he donated every dime that he made that day back to the employees. So just another great Tiffin business that's doing wonderful things to help their employees and the Tiffin community, because we know John and his family at AJ's constantly are donating for various causes, whether it's Little League football, the athletic boosters, et cetera. They're just constantly out there in the community helping with things. And then yet another downtown business, congratulations to Kessler and Company. They celebrated their 1 year in operation in downtown Tiffin, opened in the middle of a pandemic, and they're surviving. According to Chelsea, the owner, they're doing very well, no intentions of slowing down, and she's hoping to continue to add employees and additional merchandise in her business. So we want to congratulate Kessler and Co. And then while we're on the topic of downtown, we entertained for half a day the group from downtown Clyde, Ohio. They said their words were that Tiffin is really the standard in the area for a successful downtown, and we want to figure out how we can do the same thing in Clyde. Their group name is Kaleidoscope, which is awfully a fun little play on words. But they were thoroughly impressed, left the community with a lot of great ideas. And I think a lot of us who were on that trip around town with them, we might have struggled to get our heads through the door when we were done at the end of the day, because they were bragging up Tiffin so well with how good we're doing with things. But it was really nice to host them, because like we say, we don't keep secrets here in Tiffin with those sorts of things, because what is good for Tiffin, Ohio is also good for Clyde and Fostoria and Fremont. And we think the same is vice versa. If Clyde is successful, if Fremont is successful in other communities, it only helps bring Tiffin and lift our boats as well here in the Tiffin community. So we were happy to spend the day with the folks from Kaleidoscope. Street paving update. Street paving is completed now on South Washington throughout the downtown. You've probably noticed they've etched in most of the areas where they'll be doing street striping a little later in this week. And then when all that's completed, Public Works will get in, because we actually take care of the parking spaces ourselves. We don't like the state to do that, because we know exactly where our parking spaces go. And sometimes when the state comes in with it being a state route, they tend to get a little wonky with where the parking spots are located. So we will be taking care of that. And unfortunately, we still have no ETA for when Melmore Street is going to be completed. They are still waiting on the state to approve the mix for the top coat on that. So if you're someone like me, and I know Ben Gillig, who live off of Melmore and have to feel the bumps 6-8 times a day, it is getting old, but it is all in ODOT's hands. I know Matt has followed up continuously with ODOT, and a lot of folks at ODOT offices are still working from home, and they have still not approved the top mix that is used for that surface coat, which ODOT has to do since it's their project. So we're at the mercy of their schedule. Matt said it's at least 2 to 3 weeks out before he sees an approval and top coat going on there, unfortunately. And then Matt also wanted to let you all know that by the October 4th council meeting, he'll have next year's street paving list to all of you, because his goal is that you can pass that without suspension or emergency, so that he can bid it out literally the first week of the year, since he's done that a lot and gotten such good rates on our bids for street paving. So be looking forward to that coming October 4th city council meeting, the paving list, to begin that process. The Dream Big Tiffin program has now launched for year 2. That is a program that the city, in conjunction with TSEP, runs for folks to be able to submit their ideas for community development projects. You can go on to dreambigtiffin.com. It started last September 3rd, and it will last through October the 15th for folks to submit ideas. You can submit things that you submitted in the past, or if you have new ideas, please go on there and submit your ideas for community development projects. This is not necessarily what business you want to see come to Tiffin. These are community development projects, so things like parks and trails, maybe a road widening, an area of town that needs sidewalks. Those are the kind of things we're looking for. The Dream Big Tiffin portion is just community development, not economic development, to be clear with that. And then just a couple of other items to update council on. We do have the police chief finalists did go through their assessment center. It was a grueling one-day assessment that lasted literally from morning until late in the afternoon. Dale and I do have the scores and feedback from those 3, but of course the hiring of the next police chief is not just based off their scores from the assessment center. They do give you very good candidate profiles and a lot of very candid information about the individuals, their strengths and weaknesses. Dale and I have processed those, looked over things to make sure that we're in agreement with all of them. And now the final step, Dale and I will be interviewing the 3 finalists that we have in person for anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, we've told them it could last. It just depends how the conversation goes and how much time we spend with them. All of that will be completed by next week. The last one is on the 14th of September. And then, of course, we're going to have some time to digest what we've heard, and Dale and I both get our heads together and decide who our next police chief will be. So look for that announcement. It could come as quick as our next council meeting on the 20th. If not, then certainly I would expect it by before the council meeting on October the 14th. And then budgets are going hot and heavy already. They are due to myself, Dale, and Kathy by the 15th of September, which is next Wednesday already. With that, we have budget hearings scheduled with the department heads starting on the 23rd of September through the 8th of October. That keeps things on schedule so that we can have you all the budget by the 11/1 council meeting, which means that we will need all of you to schedule your budget hearing with the full administration department heads, either the week of November the 1st or the week of November the 8th. So, yep. So hey, the sooner you schedule it, the sooner we can get it on our schedules. And then last but not least, I do want to just comment on the announcement of the Heritage Festival cancellation. That's been talked about a lot in the community. I've gotten a lot of questions about it wherever I go. Dale and I were informed of the decision by the leadership of that committee, I think 2 days, less than 48 hours before the announcement went out to the community. So we were, of course, a little shocked by it, but at the same time, we understand they can't get volunteers. They could not get enough vendors. They did not come to us saying that we're canceling this because we don't feel safe because of COVID. They're canceling because they need about 100 people to volunteer, and they were drastically short on vendors, even in the downtown portion. It wasn't just related to the village. So what I have said, I know I made a social media post, but if folks want the Heritage Festival or some spinoff from the Heritage Festival to continue, there's an easy way to do it. Volunteer your time, because that's exactly what these people need that run the Heritage Festival. 100% of it are volunteers, many of them that have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years here in the community, and they need help because a lot of them have either moved on to volunteering for other things or they are just too worn out. And if the community really wants to see a successful Heritage Festival or whatever festival it may morph into, we need volunteers to come out and assist this committee because that's the only way it's ever going to happen again. They have a very active Facebook page and also a website. I would urge anyone, if you have questions, to go on there, message them. I know they've been very responsive, telling people how they can get involved, what they need help with, because I think it is their goal to pull off a successful festival next year. So just wanted to kind of get that out there one more time for the public. So we have a lot of events coming up. Thursday night of this week, September the 9th, is our final Thursday night tunes concert at the East Green Amphitheater. It's the Tuesday crowd that is playing to wrap up the season down there. And then on September the 10th and the 11th, there are a lot of community events for 9/11 scheduled. Friday night, September the 10th, the All Patriots Memorial Committee is putting on a car show at Buffalo Wild Wings from 4 to 7 p.m. The car show award ceremony is at 6 p.m. There will be a patriotic ceremony with a couple of proclamations and speakers at 7. And that ceremony, as soon as it is over, Eric Sauer's band will play from 7:30 until 10 o'clock. All of the money raised that night is being donated to local first responders in Tiffin and Seneca County. Then on Saturday, which is September the 11th, the events kick off with the ceremony at the All Patriots Memorial at 8:46 a.m. That is, of course, the time that the first plane hit the World Trade Center. There will be a short ceremony held then, and then at the Farmers Market, which is that same day, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., there's a station set up for anyone, whether it's kids, adults, that can make thank you cards or little notes to first responders and United States military that they're going to take care of delivering. So if you stop by the Farmers Market, be sure to fill out one of those cards that they can give to first responders and military. And then also that day is the Cross Country Carnival at Hedges Boyer Park. So as Fire Chief Chappell told us earlier today at department head meeting, he's got 2 home football games that day that we have to cover, the Cross Country Carnival and all of these 9/11 events. So there is a lot going on in the community that our first responders are going to be very busy with. So a very fitting day for that. And then Thursday, September the 16th is the Downtown Pizza Party. It's the largest ever as far as the amount of pizza places that are participating in the downtown pizza party. And then Saturday, September the 18th is the United Way kickoff event at noon at the East Green Amphitheater. That does conclude my report, though, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor? Councilwoman Boyle?
Yeah, just a quick one. So for the Heritage Festival, do the universities typically participate in volunteering for that?
You know, I have not seen a whole lot of it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
know I haven't seen even a whole lot of university students. I think they come to the downtown portion more.
Yeah, I was just
But-
curious if that was an opportunity for them to maybe reach
Yeah.
out to the universities.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're in desperate need of volunteers and anybody. And even if you're not a planner and you just want to help carry tables and chairs
Right.
and set up
Yeah,
tents.
like I imagine that would
Yeah.
be,
Yeah, it's not always just, I think everybody thinks
Yeah.
that if you volunteer, you're going to get stuck planning an entire event and you're going to have
Yeah.
months of your year taken up. I think they've got enough, they don't have enough planners, but I think that's probably where the best
The
case
need
is.
is.
It's the need is just, they don't have enough bodies to help move things and stage set up and all of that.
because I know the craft show at the Y, they reached out to the universities and that's exactly what they would do. It's just
Yeah.
people,
That's a great idea. We can let Eric and the others know with the
Yeah.
festival that they're looking for any ideas possible.
yeah, okay.
Councilman Perry?
Yeah, thank you. I've gotten a dozen citizens from the principal at Calvert to some teachers at Calvert asking about the light at Melmore and Circular. So I was just wondering where we're at as a status on that right now.
Yeah, the light was put back in operation, but to my understanding, since council passed an ordinance to remove it, council will have to pass an ordinance if council wishes for it to remain. We reversed the decision based off of the recommendation of our chief engineer and the traffic safety committee. But I don't think they have the authority to do that. I think since you all took action, at some point, you all are going to have to take action to reverse that decision.
Okay. Is that something we can bring up tonight or discuss or send to a committee? Because I know a lot of people want me to speak up for them about it, you know, at least in the fourth ward. To at least look at the data from the last month or whatever, 2 weeks and see, you know, I think a lot of it comes from honestly, it blinking. I think if we bagged up the light and we just had the stop sign, I think that would help because I think a lot of people think blinking means a four-way stop. So that caused a lot of the confusion to me. But I think we need to circle back to that and address it.
I think we should have made it a four-way stop instead of a two-way stop. I was there, I saw this twice, people trying to make left-hand turns off of Circular Street on the Melmore almost got hit because they were thinking that it was a four-way stop, or I don't know what they were thinking, but if we would have, I think that might have, anyway, that's my opinion.
Right.
Councilman Gillig, you had your hand up.
Hopefully I'm not misspeaking here, but I believe they got to the point a few years ago with the Heritage Festival, they were actually having to pay groups to come to help out, which, you know, sounds bizarre, paying for volunteers, but you know, that committee did a phenomenal job through a lot of years, you know, with not a lot of assistance, I would say.
Councilman Leopard, I don't know if you'll have enough, I'm going to assign you with the opportunity to look at Melmore and Circular, your committee. So I don't know if you can do it on the 20th, or if you want to
Let's,
change your time.
let's alter the start time for the Street, Sidewalk, and Sewer Committee to 6 o'clock, and also include discussion on the street lamp at the traffic lamp at Melmore and Circular,
Thank you.
and any other business maybe come before.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything for the mayor? Thanks, Mayor. It's always a good report.
Thank you.
Clerk of Council, Ann Forrest.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Kathy Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have the financial report for the month of August. Total receipts for the month were $4,715,344.24. Total expenses for the month were $2,872,348.16. The general fund unencumbered balance is at $4,489,173.39. Income tax receipts for August 2021 were $885,390.59. A total annual increase in income tax collections for August 2021 compared to August 2020 was $12,098.96. For the year, we are up for income tax receipts about 10.81%. The 0.25% portion of income tax receipts that was transferred into Fund 215 for public streets for August was $109,304.28. In August, I wanted to note that the city received the second half of the real estate checks from the county, and the amount that was deposited into general fund was $386,136.69. On Monday, September 13th, 2021, sewer revenue will be certifying invoices more than 90 days past due to the county auditor. The last day customers could pay on those invoices was August 31st, 2021. The assessments for sewer were over $344,440.76. I'll also be doing sidewalk mowing assessments, trash, weeds. That'll also be sent to the county on or before September 13th, 2021. The unexpended balance for all funds is $32,147,628.09, which is the same as the bank balances for the same time period. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the finance director? Councilman Jones.
I do. Thank you, Mr. President. I was flipping through the 40 or 50 electronic pages that Director of Finance Hoffman shared with us, and a couple items caught my eye. And I saw the preliminary audit coming up, et cetera. So I'm sure there's nothing wrong, but I just wanted the public to be aware that City Council is looking over these 40, 50 pages. And three things kind of caught my eye, and I just bring them up. Don't need an answer tonight, but there was a check for $1,581 to 3EC Development on 8/27. There was a check issued for $8,700 to AECOM, and that's another one of those, we're going to have a class on acronyms. That was on 8/27. And then the one that really jumped out at me, we issued 6 checks to the city of Tiffin for around $51,000. So I was just curious what those transactions were, and can report at a later date, we'd be fine. So just wanted the city to know we're looking at these things.
I can tell you now if you would like.
Go ahead.
So the first one for $8,581 to 3EC Development, that was a facade grant that they applied for.
Okay?
The one to AECOM was, the city engineer was updating the geographic information system, which is something that creates and manages and analyzes maps and data with the earth. So he was using that to work on one of his projects, needed to be updated. And the checks that you mentioned that were for the city of Tiffin, what those are is city employee deductions, like for the health insurance and the vision and the dental. The city pays 80%, the employee has to pay 20%. So those come out as the 20% deductions. A check is written, and then their portion then is put into our accounts, and then we can pay the bill from that. And then the other two, I think that you saw, one was for city tax, income tax that was withheld. And it's done the same way. It's a check that gets written and it's given to our income tax department and they deposit it. And the other was for our flexible spending program. All the employees can join that if they want, and they decide what their annual contribution will be, and those contributions are withheld from their checks and then deposited.
Okay. Thank you for those responses.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Councilman Gillig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move to accept the finance director's report and bank reconciliation as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Councilwoman Boyle.
I will second, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Let the record show that the motion passed unanimously. Director of Law, Brent T. Howard.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one item. I'd like to meet with council in executive session, and I'd like if you could do that now during my report. The reason for going into executive session is to consider the employment of a public official. So that needs to be done by motion, second, and vote. It'll only take a few minutes.
Okay. Councilman Perry.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session. There's a second, Councilwoman
And the
Yanatuno.
reason, but for the minutes, the reason is to consider the employment of a public official. It has to be specifically a part of the motion.
Okay.
To consider the employment of a public official.
Second,
Is
Mr.
there a
President.
second? Councilwoman Yanatuno. Thank you. Now we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Do we need to take a roll call? Can we just do a voice vote?
You should take a roll call vote to go in and to come out.
Okay, gotcha. I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the motion, please.
Councilman Perry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Boyle,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Yanatuno,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
The motion passes with a vote of 7-0.
Councilwoman Yanatuno,
Yes.
Councilman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Leopard.
Yes.
Councilman Perkins.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0 to go back into session. Is there anything else? Law Director,
No, the complete.
or Director of Law, excuse me. I want to get your title right. I don't want.
Right.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Director of Law? Okay. We're now under written communications.
We have an addition tonight to the written communications. Mayor's request for legislation, number F21-30. I'm sorry, I'm reading the first one wrong. Okay, let me go to the mayor's first. Thank you. Mayor's request for legislation, number 21-20, easements at Eagle Rock Industrial Park.
Mayor's request for legislation F21-20 or
21-20.
21-20 will be forwarded to the Street Sidewalk and Sewer Committee.
Then we have Finance Director's request for legislation number F21-30 to amend the 2021 Budget Ordinance 21-11 to appropriate funds into the department budget.
Director of Finance's request for legislation F21-30 will be held on file in the clerk's office. Ordinance 21-80 has been prepared for tonight's meeting.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F21-31 to amend the 2021 Budget Ordinance 21-11 to appropriate funds into the HR, Pool, and the Charter Review Commission budgets.
Director of Finance request for legislation F21-31 will be held on file in the clerk's office. Ordinance 21-81 has been prepared for tonight's meeting.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F21-32 to amend the 2021 Budget Ordinance 21-11 to appropriate funds into the Parks Department budget.
Director of Finance's request for legislation F21-32 will be held on file in the clerk's office. Ordinance 21-82 has been prepared for tonight's meeting.
That concludes the written ordinance.
Thank you. We are now under oral communications. Anyone from the attending public who wishes to address council can step forward at the podium, sign in, state your name, address your comments to the President of City Council. No takers? All right. Do we have any motions? We're now under resolutions.
Amended resolution number 21-13, introduced by I'm sorry.
Zach.
Yeah, Zach Perkins. Sorry, couldn't read that. Resolution authorizing the mayor to prepare and submit application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC State Capital Improvement Program, to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency.
This is the third reading of amended resolution 21-13. Councilman Perkins.
Yeah, I would like to ask council for passage of amended resolution 21-13. This is the OPWC grant will award us around $500,000 for the Ellis Street Bridge project.
Thank you. We have a motion to pass amended resolution 21-13. Second, Councilman Gillig.
I'd like to second the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a copy of Resolution 2113 in front of me, and like the third paragraph, total estimated cost of the project, and I heard Councilman Perkins talk about $500,000, and it does say that in here, but it has the estimated project cost is blank, and then it'll be blank % of the total project. Can't we fill in those two blanks before we pass Resolution 2113 if I have a current copy here? I'm just uncomfortable voting in something with blank spaces on it.
I don't think that that's the final version that was introduced.
Okay, well,
No, the signed version indicates the project cost is $3,200,000, correct? And the grant application request
Yeah, I think what happened was that was a draft that was sent out, and then the actual version that was introduced had the dollar amount, total amount, and the $500,000. So what you have is just a draft, not the final version that was introduced.
Okay. And
Councilman Jones.
my benefit, what were those three numbers again? You just,
Well, it was the total estimated project cost is $3.2 million, and the request is $500,000 for the grant application.
and roughly the percentage of the,
Yeah, that was not included in the actual ordinance.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Leopard.
That was an agenda change memo on August the 2nd. It included the dollar amounts.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the emergency, please.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
The emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We will now vote on the passage of amended resolution 21-13.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
Amended resolution 21-13 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Resolution number 21-16, introduced by Ben Gillig. Resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
This is the second reading of resolution 21-16.
Ordinance number 21-72, introduced by Dawn Yanatuno. Ordinance authorizing the sale of 12.318 acres, more or less, of land in Eagle Rock Business Park at $15,000 per acre, net of road right-of-ways, and granting an option to purchase an additional adjacent 8.732 acres, more or less, to Development Solutions LLC or its designee as approved by the mayor.
This is the third reading of ordinance 21-72. Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for immediate passage of ordinance 21-72.
Thank you. We have a motion for the immediate passage of ordinance 21-72. Is there a second? Councilman Perry.
I'll second, Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Just to follow up with this, if you'll remember that this Development Solutions already has a lease agreement with us that we suspended the 3 reading rule, and so this is the follow-up to this so that they can go ahead and purchase.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on passage of ordinance 21-72.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-72 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-73, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance amending the 2021 budget ordinance number 21-11 to appropriate $20,000 into the general administration budget for property acquisition for the Ellis Street River Bridge project.
This is the third reading of ordinance 21-73.
My apologies. Again, the writing. Okay, I'm sorry. It was introduced by Bridget Boyle.
I'm sorry.
I correct that.
Councilwoman Boyle.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to ask for passage of ordinance 21-73.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 21-73. Is there a second? Councilman Perkins.
I'd like to second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Jones, are you sure or unsure or?
I'm sure, I guess. Going from memory, and I didn't remember that August 2nd date. Again, I have ordinance 2173 and $20,000 for some property. And I think I asked a month ago, how many acres we talking about? I thought someone said we would know that at a later date. Is this half an acre, 1 acre? Is this fair price or?
Director of Law.
Yeah, this is money that is necessary to purchase a property of 5 different properties. And because there are 5 different properties that were determined that we need not entire properties, but these are just small portions of adjoining property to the bridge. And we need to acquire those properties in order to do the replacement bridge project. So you can just look at around that bridge and you can see, you know, every property that we may touch. The 20,000 is based on the appraised value of all the properties that we may need to purchase. So we need to put the money into the budget in order to be able to actually purchase these properties. The procedure, since we're using some money from outside our community, we have to go through an acquisition process that is a prescribed process. It includes hiring an agent to go to the property owners and negotiate a price. Because ultimately, if they would disagree and we don't reach an agreement, then we can actually appropriate by law, we can take the property that we need. We hope that that's not going to be required. And right now, the negotiations are going on to acquire these small pieces of property. One fact, I think one of the little bits of property almost is entirely in the water. It was actually owned by one of the adjacent property owners. I know that doesn't give you the specific dollar amount for each property, and I could provide you with that. I've got it back, not here with me tonight, but I have it based on the appraisals that were provided for each of those properties. I will tell you, though, that you're putting money in the budget, but eventually council will have to pass legislation to approve the acquisition, and at that time, you will know the property owner and the actual dollar amount that will need to be paid for each property. So you'll have that information before you would approve the actual, those 5 acquisitions. More than one of them may be a donation too, because it involves a business entity and a political subdivision.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the passage, ordinance 21-73.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-73 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-78, introduced by Don Yanatuno. Ordinance establishing a City of Tiffin Municipal Arts Commission and adopting provisions for its organization and operation.
This is the second reading of ordinance 21-78.
Ordinance number 21-80, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance authorizing the city administrator to enter into a fuel sale contract with the Seneca County for the Seneca County Sheriff's Office, amending the 2021 budget ordinance 21-11 to appropriate $35,000 for the fuel cost connected with the contract, authorizing the city administrator to prepare specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and execute a contract for the purchase of fuel, and declaring an emergency.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-80. Councilman Gillig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for suspension of council's 3-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 21-80.
We have a motion to suspend council's 3-reading rule and the immediate passage of ordinance 21-80. Is there a second, Councilwoman Yanatuno?
A second, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Gillig.
Well, I know the mayor did a phenomenal job of outlining this earlier, but just for anybody watching live, the sheriff's department's currently filling up at gas stations, local gas stations. This will provide, I suppose, a steadier place for that to happen. And Finance Director Kaufman, I believe you said there's a 2% premium, so we'll be reimbursed for whatever is being, for whatever is used, and we'll actually make a little bit, but the more important thing is helping out the sheriff's department, which provides such valuable mutual aid to the city.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the suspension, please.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
The suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We will now vote on the emergency.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
The emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage of ordinance 21-80.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-80 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-81, introduced by Ben Gillig, ordinance amending the 2021 budget ordinance number 21-11 to appropriate $5,000 into the human resources budget for employment screening, $850 into the pool budget for OPERS in a pension, and $15,000 into the Charter Review Commission budget for legal fees.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-81. Councilman Gillig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for suspension of council's three reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 21-81.
We have a motion to suspend council's three reading rule and the immediate passage of ordinance 21-81. Is there a second? Councilman Leopard.
I'll second the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the suspension, please.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
The suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We will now vote on the passage of ordinance 21-81.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-81 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 21-82, introduced by Ben Gillig, ordinance amending the 2021 budget ordinance number 21-11 to appropriate $471 and $1,000 into the Parks Department budget for pool employee wages and for the special music events at the East Green.
This is the first reading of ordinance 21-82. Councilman Gillig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for suspension of council's three reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 21-82.
Thank you. We have a motion to suspend council's three reading rule and the immediate passage of ordinance 21-82. Is there a second, Councilwoman Boyle?
Yes, I'll second, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Gillig.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. With the pool employee wages, the pool was used very heavily this summer, which was wonderful. And of course, because of that, extra lifeguards were needed for safety. So that will take care of that. And then for the special music events, that is money that, forgive me if I'm misspeaking, Mr. Mayor, that is coming to us from the sponsorship. So this is money in, money out. Wonderful.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote on the suspension, please.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
The suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage of ordinance 21-82.
Councilman Perry?
Yes.
Boyle?
Yes.
Gillig?
Yes.
Yanatuno?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Leopard?
Yes.
And Perkins?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-82 passes with a vote of 7-0.
That concludes the ordinances, Mr. President.
Thank you. We're now under other business. Anyone else have anything? Councilwoman Yanatuno.
Just a reminder that Safety Week is next week, and we are setting up on Sunday if any of you are bored and we need some muscle. And then it is running the 13th through the 17th, and you have to have a photo ID to get in the building. We are asking our volunteers to wear masks because we are entering, the Tiffin City Schools isn't requesting it, but we are asking that of our volunteers because we're going into a pre-K building. Those little guys 3 through 5, we don't want to get anybody sick. And so we're having our volunteers wear masks. And so it's a great week. It's a very tiring week, and that's why I won't be joining you for the audit thing, because I'll be a little tired. It's a long week. And so good luck with the audit thing next week. But if any of you would like to work the safety week, let me know.
Thank you. I'm sure our audit will go extremely well, like it always does. Councilman Gillig.
Yes, very briefly, Mr. President. May I suggest that you pick up a copy of the local paper in the coming days, possibly Thursday or Friday. The mayor and our law director are already aware, but in the process of cleaning out my mom's garage, I found something pretty amazing. and called the mayor in a panic because I didn't know who else to call, and then called Brent right afterwards. But I think you'll get a kick out of it. That's coming in a few days.
Give us a hint?
No.
No hint?
It's interesting that a history teacher wound up with it. I'll give you that.
Anyone else? Anything for the good of the order? Councilman Jones, I almost got there, but all right.
Swing the gavel, come on.
I'm not sure it's for the good of the order, but a month ago at the Council of the Whole, I said that I talked to a lady on the phone for 32 minutes on Circular Street. Follow-up conversation with that. I mentioned to her that I told her I would bring it up to City Council, which I did. I told her that I mentioned that we spoke for 32 minutes, and I did most of the listening. She used words like she felt insulted, and she thought I was making fun of her by saying that I listened for 32 minutes. She said I did plenty of talking. She almost insisted I share with the same group, which is this group here, and correct myself that we spoke on the phone, and leave it at that.
So it wasn't entirely you listening, you also talked?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and I think anybody who knows you would accept that.
Okay.
He said, okay.
Is that, anything else?
No.
Okay. Dale?
To end on a piece of good news, Bryce and Morgan Kuhn have a new child that was delivered this morning, Liam Robert Kuhn,
Okay.
at Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. So hopefully she will be discharged by the end of the week and they'll be home with baby Liam.
Awesome, awesome. Anyone else? All right. Well, God bless all of you and God bless our community. Good night.